Welcome back in, everybody, to episode number 3 of the Real Bros podcast. I'm your host, Austin Real, joined by my brother and co-host, Ethan Real. Ethan, what's going on tonight?
Not a whole lot, man. Just watching the Bulls, choke it out here and come
Yeah,
up short once again.
yeah. We're recording this on April 16th. If you can't tell, and if you haven't figured it out by now, we are Lakers fans. Ethan's over here rocking the LeBron, and I got the Luka on. So obviously we're Lakers fans. We'll try to keep the bias out of it because on tonight's episode we are going to be discussing these first round matchups in the NBA playoffs. So looking forward to discussing those. But before we get into it, we kind of have some things that we've learned from these first couple episodes we've done. We've put out some longer pods. And we try to cover a multitude of sports in those pods. But I think moving forward, we're going to try to lean into discussing 1 or 2 different sports or topics per pod to try to shorten them down. I think we'll get the most out of that, and we'll be able to put out a few more episodes a week because the plan's still to cover as many topics as we can. But tonight, on this specific episode, we are discussing just the first round of the NBA playoffs, and we're going to have a blind ranking at the end, so stay tuned for that. And really the only other thing that we need to discuss is the end of episode 2, we had ourselves a little debate. We did T-Mac versus Carmelo Anthony, who was the better player. And I leaned in my debate to discussing more about the better player in their prime. It's kind of the focus, and Ethan leaned into the career-based, but he also defended Carmelo in his peak years as well. So it was a good debate, and at the end of the day, we put out some polls across our social media outlets, and it seemed like T-Mac won that vote. It was around 70%, I think, once we added it all up, maybe a little less, but I even saw on YouTube that T-Mac had a 80% of those votes. So happy to say I won that debate. And Ethan, how does it feel to get your first loss in this podcast series?
And we're 0-1 to start the season on these, but it was fun and good job, Austin, on defending T-Mac. It certainly is it's a close one there. It's you have arguments for both guys, but Austin definitely got the message out there maybe a little better than me, or maybe the people just think that, T-Mac's a little better, but it was fun and I'm excited for the next one.
Yeah, we aim to try to make it difficult on my end by putting him up against Carmelo. But after doing some digging into it, it kind of, I truly did believe T-Mac is the better player going into it, and I felt like looking into it and providing stats and laying out my argument really made me believe it even more. So hopefully I brought people to that same conclusion, but it was fun, and we will definitely be doing more of that. I actually enjoyed that and putting that together. So stay tuned for the next one. But yeah, like I said, we're going to jump into the NBA playoffs, and our first matchup to discuss tonight is in the Western Conference. We're going to try to run through those matchups first. The 1 seed, the Thunder, as of this recording, we do not know who they're playing, but I don't know that it's going to end up mattering. So, Ethan, give us your pick in that game, Thunder versus whoever. At this point, do you think the Thunder can pull it out?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Thunder is the overwhelming favorite, regardless if they play the Grizzlies or the winner of Dallas and Sacramento tonight. But man, I would like to think that the Grizzlies surely are going to pull this game out tonight against the Mavericks. But I mean, it's kind of hard saying. We did see John Morant kind of bang his ankle, or he rolled his ankle in that last game against the Warriors. So not really knowing for sure exactly how healthy he is.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, I do think Grizzlies probably find a way to get that 8 seed. And it's just hard to imagine that they have enough to beat Oklahoma City. We'll kind of, maybe in a later podcast as the playoffs move forward, we'll kind of dig deeper into OKC and their, future coming matchups. But it's hard to imagine that Memphis is going to have a tough time with them. I mean, Memphis has been pretty bad against the best teams in the West this year. They're 3-15 actually against the top 7 seeds in the West this year. And or actually, my bad. That's since Christmas. 3-15 against the top seven seeds in the West since Christmas. So they just have not been good against the best teams. They've been great against the bad teams, but the best teams they've not been very good. And man, I don't really see them giving the Thunder much of a chance. And in that one, I got the Thunder. I'll go the Thunder in 5 in that one.
Thunder in 5. I like it. Giving those guys that 8 seed a game. For me, I'm going with Thunder as well. It's going to be 4-0 sweep. Look, these guys, they're balanced. They win on the road. They win at home. 120 points a game is what they average, and they're only giving up about 107. So 13-point differential, that is insane. Leads the league in that. So they did have a tougher time with Western Conference teams, but still held a good record against them. But I will highlight they did go 29-1 against Eastern Conference team. The Thunder did. So if they get to the finals, they end up getting there. Statistics show they might be the favorites there. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters who they go up against. Probably the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies would have the best shot out of the teams there remaining. But I don't think it's going to matter. I've got Thunder in 4. Pretty easy victory for those guys, and hopefully it propels them onto a run. That's a nice young team there that has a lot of talent around SGA, who's probably going to end up being the MVP, but we'll find that out later. So the next matchup on the list, Rockets and Warriors. This one is going to be kind of an interesting one in my opinion, but I'd like to hear your take on this one.
Yeah, no doubt. So obviously, this is kind of an interesting one here. On one end of the side, on one side of things, you have the Rockets, who's super young team. They got a hard nosed coach Ime Udoka, who's real hard nosed and really has those guys believing on defense. But man, I'm just concerned with their lack of consistently being able to knock down 3 balls. And we all know it when it comes playoff time. The game's going to slow down, and you're going to have to really rely on your role players to be able to make big shots. And for me, I feel like that kind of plays into the Warriors' hands a little bit more. And especially just after watching that play-in game, I think it's pretty apparent that playoff Jimmy, he's back right on cue. We have the same conversation every single year. It's like, is Jimmy Butler not that guy anymore? And then all of a sudden the playoffs start and you're like, where has this guy been for this whole entire season? But here he is. And that game against the Grizzlies, the other night, he drops 39 right on cue. And it shows he's that guy when it matters the most. So I will take the Warriors in this one. I do think it's going to go all the way to 7 games. I think the Rockets, have a big advantage on the glass. If the Rockets can make shots and they can dominate the boards like they've been doing, they're the best rebounding team in the NBA. They're certainly going to give them extra opportunities, and second chance points is a massive swing factor, and specifically in the playoffs. Like I was saying, considering the game's going to slow down, but there is still some concerns with the Warriors. The whole Steve Kerr not playing Jonathan Kuminga just doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. But considering the value he can bring, the athleticism he brings, the youth. I feel like that's something that could certainly help the Warriors, give them a spark. But it's just hard to bet against Steph Curry and playoff Jimmy Butler in this one. I'll take the experience and those guys in the playoffs over the Rockets. And listen, I mean, what the Rockets got going, I think they're setting themselves up to go on a run in the future. I just don't think that they're quite there yet. And they're young guys. They're going to need a little bit more development before I think they're ready. But this is still going to be a hard-fought series. I got it going all the way to 7 games, but give me the more experienced Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler in a game 7, and I'm rolling with the Warriors in 7 there.
Yeah, looking at the matchup. So in episode 1, we made bold predictions, and my bold prediction was Rockets were going to get eliminated in the first round, and really the reason for that was the inexperience of that team. They're so young. They've got some good players that do have some experience, and like a Dylan Brooks, but they're going up against a very established team with Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, two guys that know what the playoffs are all about, and a coach that knows what it's all about. I think that just gives them a huge edge in this matchup. So I've got Warriors, but I have it going 6 games. And I'm basing that off of expecting the Warriors offense to be rolling, to really be clicking in this series. The Rockets, like you had mentioned, best rebounding team in basketball, and that's great, but it doesn't matter if shots are going in. So they've got a solid defensive team and all that, but when you're shooting from behind the arc and you're making shots that you can't guard necessarily, I think it really kind of takes that advantage away a little bit, especially the way the Warriors move the ball and the way they play to set up shots. So, I expect them to rely on that three-point shot as typical with the Warriors to really give themselves an edge in this matchup and lean on the experience. They've played extremely well since acquiring Jimmy Butler. Seems like he's meshed in well. And the Rockets have also been known to give up these games where offenses are able to explode against their defense. So they're a good defense, but not the most consistent defense, in my opinion. So the biggest thing that really struck me when looking at this game, which I think is going to matter in playoff basketball, Rockets shot 74% from the free throw line. And you're going to be in a series where you're going to need to knock down these shots. And this is a team that you are going to have, every point's going to matter in this matchup. So if you're not making free throws, I just don't foresee it happening for them. Totally agree that over time, this is a team that's really going to be able to go on a run and maybe do something. I like a lot of the players on this team. It's just not now, and this is the worst team you could be matched up against in round one. So I got Warriors in 6. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and one thing too, I would add in there as well, that just to kind of, give the Rockets some sort of hope here is that, the one thing that the Warriors I do find that are lacking is that they really don't have that like third guy that can just go out there and get a bucket like most of the best teams in the NBA. Like obviously Podziemski he's been a huge X factor for him as of late. And I look back to some of these games. I mean, he's given them everything he can and making timely big shots for them. And that's such a big thing for them to have if there's a night where, Steph or Jimmy, they just don't got to go. And like, you're going to need somebody to step up. But obviously he's young and they have young players too. And they have a mixture of veterans, but they also have some young players as well. And you just don't really know 100% how these players are going to perform in the playoffs when the lights get bright. I mean, we see it every single year where, guys show signs that they're going to be an asset in the playoffs. And then as soon as the playoffs come around, they shrink up. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Warriors role players step up because they certainly will need those guys to step up to win this series. But the Rockets do have a little bit more depth, so that was kind of where they got to win it at. They got to hope that the role players for the Warriors don't show up, and if that's the case, they definitely could be in the driver's seat in this series.
I mean, it's the playoffs; anything can happen, and if they can knock down free throws and they can knock down shots and they can consistently guard on defense, and Steph Curry has a couple games where he doesn't shoot very well. I mean, they very well could walk away with this one, and the winner. But yeah, I think still think Warriors are going to end up getting this one, and personally, as a Lakers fan, I do hope it goes 7 games. Try to get as much usage out of those guys and out of their legs going forward. But they've been on a roll as of late, and they've lost some games recently as well. But I expect them to win. That's going to jump us into the third matchup here in the Western Conference. We've got the Los Angeles Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, trying to keep some bias out of it. But who do you have in this matchup, Ethan?
Yeah, we'll try to keep some bias out of this one. But with that being said, we got Lakers in 5. Yeah. No, I do think this is an interesting matchup, actually, for the most part. Like, I think looking into the playoffs, like once we knew that Memphis was no longer going to be an option to get that 6th seed. We were looking at the standings saying, who's the next best, next best team we want to play. Yeah. And I would say Minnesota would be that next team that would be ideal for us. Where Minnesota is dangerous at for us is obviously there's no secret that the Lakers, they lack some size in the paint. Jackson Hayes is kind of their only guy that they have down there. And yeah, he's tall and whatnot, but he isn't really necessarily like the biggest body in the world. He is a little bit more on the skinnier side. And a guy like Rudy Gobert could definitely, dominate the paint. And if Minnesota can just destroy us on the glass and use their size to their advantage, this could be a long series for the Lakers. But at the same time, though, where I lean into the Lakers being the favorites in this one is we've already seen as of last year, how Luka matches up against this team, specifically Rudy Gobert, and he's so good at getting Gobert switched out onto Luka or other perimeter players out on the perimeter and getting him away from the basket, getting him out of the paint where he's the most effective at, and Luka's really good at having his way with him out there and getting him away from the basket. And I think that's where the Lakers are going to look to try to excel in this series is getting Gobert away from the perimeter or getting him away from the paint out on the perimeter and, really making him unplayable to play. I mean, that's what we've seen Gobert's biggest problem come playoff times is teams just hunting out there on the perimeter. It's not really the most valuable thing if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves to have, your center out there guarding the other team's best guard. And I feel like the Lakers, especially JJ Redick, he obviously is a genius here and knows what he's doing. And then you factor in LeBron and Luka, who's two of the highest IQ players in the NBA. They're going to find a way to get the right matchups and be able to expose them. The key is going to come down to, does Anthony Edwards have, show up and put himself in that conversation to be the next face of the NBA, or do the Lakers get just destroyed on the glass? If we can keep both those things semi in check, this should be a relatively, I don't want to say easy because I think it'll be hard fought games, but I don't foresee this series going very late. So in closing, the last thing I'll say is Julius Randle going to put out his candle. The Timberwolves going to be in shambles. Lakers in 5.
Lakers in 5. Man, you heard it here first. Look, I love it. I'm going with the Lakers as well. I think it's going to be a 6-game series, and really the reason why is Anthony Edwards. I do think this guy is a superstar. It's hard to bet against him. I love his game, and I just think he's going to be able to pull out at least one, but I think he's going to find a way to pull out two. The way these teams match up, as far as their points and how much they give up, pretty similar. At the end of the day, the Lakers are going to have more experience. Luka just went on a long run last season. LeBron's done it many, many times. So I think that experience is going to matter the most in this series. And the Lakers have also become a more efficient offense since acquiring Luka, obviously. But statistically, they've were averaging around the 116 range. So they've definitely improved there and moved the ball really well. We've said it before. JJ's got them playing really well as a team too, and they have numerous guys that can take a game over. I really feel like from the Timberwolves standpoint, you really do kind of lean on Anthony Edwards as being that superstar to take a game over, whereas the Lakers, it's probably Luka most nights, right, from scoring threat, but LeBron easily could do it as well. Even at 40, he could still put up 30 plus any given night. And same with Austin Reeves. He could easily put up 32. I think people don't give him enough credit. I think maybe we're starting to see that credit be given to him, but often I don't see enough given to him as far as him being truly part of this as a big three. I look at that team as having a big three, and it's a group of guys that can go on a playoff run. They've figured each other out pretty quicker than I expected them to since acquiring Luka, and even without a true big man, their offense is rolling, and I think it's going to end up being a fun matchup. I think we're going to see some good moments. I think it's going to be close pretty much every game. I don't know that you're going to see huge blowouts, but I do think Lakers end up pulling it out, and experience being the difference maker in that matchup. So Lakers in 6 for me. I don't have anything, any Shannon Sharp type thing to add to this, but
yeah, and I'll pitch in just one more thing there too is for me also you got to look at the fact of Julius Randle, like no denying that he's been a quality NBA player throughout his career, but he's consistently been worse in the playoffs versus the regular season. He has started to kind of come into his own to finish this regular season out, but over his career, he certainly has came up short, a lot of times in the playoffs versus the regular season. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have LeBron and obviously Luka. Look at their playoff numbers compared to their regular season numbers. Those are two players that have consistently over their career, elevated their game in the playoffs. So I fully expect the Lakers to hit another level here because that's what history tells me these players are going to do in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I agree that Anthony Edwards could definitely make this series interesting, but I do think that we're just too much of a problem for them to handle with between LeBron, Luka, and then obviously Austin Reeves as well.
Yeah, and you and I have kind of had this discussion. I don't know that we brought it up on the pod. Maybe we did, but the fact that LeBron is now paired with a superstar that can truly take a game over. And we've seen it before with Anthony Davis, where in games that Anthony Davis could really take over from a scoring standpoint, you've seen a super efficient LeBron, especially in the fourth quarter. A lot more energy at this, him being older in age now. And I expect the same even in the playoffs, that he can reserve some in the tank, as much as they can allow. But I think he'll be able to reserve more in the tank in each game. Luka does his thing on offense. Reeves does his thing on offense. So where you get to the fourth quarter and he can help close out games, that's where I think this team is going to be real deadly in the playoffs. And that's why I think I've started to believe that they can go on a run. But
I mean, make no mistake about it. If they're going to go on a run, LeBron can't be the best player on the team. It has to be Luka being the best player on the team, and that's totally fine. LeBron's 40 years old, and I think he's totally okay with giving passing the torch on to Luka and getting to be Batman for once. And if they really buy into that, they're going to be a tough out for anybody, and they certainly have the firepower to go on a long playoff run here.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I'm excited for that matchup and to see how those guys look in the playoffs. That brings us up to the 4-5 matchup, and this is the interesting one in my opinion. As it is in most years, that 4-5 matchup is truly a toss-up. This year you have Nuggets versus the Clippers. Nuggets with the home court. Ethan, who do you have here?
This is another one where I feel like going into the playoffs, this might be one of the most, the more interesting, more entertaining series to watch, because on one end of the spectrum, you have the Clippers over here, who's to finish out this season, they're looking like there could potentially be a problem here in the West. They finished the season 18-3. Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, I mean, they look like Kawhi Leonard and James Harden of 5 years ago. It's one of the more craziest things I've ever seen in my life, where you're thinking that these guys are on the decline, and next thing you know, here comes 2025 regular season ending to going into the playoffs, and these guys look like they're in their prime all over again. Yeah. And just even watching that Warriors game the other night, the last game of the regular season, Harden goes off for 39 in that game, and I'm watching that game. You got Kawhi, Steph, Jimmy, Harden out there, and Harden had the best game on the floor in that game, and obviously the way he's able to impact the game in other ways, passing the ball, rebounding, all that, it's dangerous. And then add in the fact that Kawhi is shooting the ball at one of the most efficient rates he's ever done it at. I mean, over his last 20 games, he's shooting a percentage wise, 56 from the floor, 50 from three, and 87 from the free throw line. So he's getting buckets in a super efficient manner. And then you got, Zubac over here, who's looking like an all NBA center potentially, dominating the glass, just dominating the paint. And really, shout out to, or not shout out, but just, it's one of the worst moves that Magic Johnson had made when he was with the Lakers, giving him up for Mike Muscala. At the time, I understand the Lakers needed a shooter, but man, we basically just gave Zubac up for nothing, and that one hurts. But and then also, the Clippers, they also have a Norman Powell sitting there too as a good scoring third option, averaged 22 points a game this year, and can light you up from anywhere on the floor. So, man, I think the Clippers are dangerous. Obviously, the Nuggets are proven. They won the championship 2 years ago. They're been in the playoffs the last 6 years. They do seem to be playing, better since Malone got fired. They did finish the season, won their last 3 games. Murray came back. Is kind of starting to get his legs back under him. And then obviously, you still got guys like Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon sitting there, and those guys are capable of getting it going at any given time. I mean, I look back to that Nuggets and Lakers series last year, and man, that Michael Porter Jr., it just didn't seem like he missed.
Yeah.
Like every time he went up for a shot, I'm like, that's money. That's going in. And obviously he's had a little bit more of a setback this year shooting the basketball, but man, that dude could get it going at any given time. And there is no stopping him. He's 6'10" and shoots above his head and jumps high off the ground when he shoots it. There's no guarding it. It just goes in or doesn't. It's like Kevin Durant, basically,
Yeah.
And so it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. I do favor the Clippers a little bit more just because it's hard to buy into the Nuggets 100% after Malone going out. Obviously, the Russell Westbrook situation I don't love. And I do believe that Russell Westbrook will find a way to hurt their chances come playoff time. Once the series starts. Sorry, but that's just what I believe. And I'll take the Clippers in this one. But this is going to be a fun series. This is going to be a series where it really could go either way. And honestly, both of these teams really are capable of beating OKC in the second round and making a run deeper into the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was the case.
Yeah, it's like we said, this is the matchup that I think is going to go down to the wire. I'm going with the Nuggets in this one. I think they're going to get it done in 7 games. And look, my biggest question for the Clippers is you pointed out them being 18-3 over the last 21 games, which is you would think this is great. They're the hot team going into the playoffs, and they are. But how much did it take out of them to get to this point, just to get themselves in this position? They do have older superstars. It's not like these guys are in their 20s and 25 like Luka is, right in their prime. They're a little bit older, and they do have the experience, but the Nuggets do as well. They've been winning these last few years. You have Joker, who's arguably one of the best centers of all time on that roster. So there are concerns with Mike Malone's firing. As you've pointed out, they're doing okay since then, it looks like. But we'll find out if that plays a factor come playoff basketball, because it might. It very well might. But to me, the Nuggets, they've outscored the Clippers on the year as far as the points per game total by almost double digits, about 10 more points per game. And I think the biggest thing for me is I just think the Clippers are going to run out of gas. And if it goes 7 games, I just can't imagine the Nuggets losing this. If it goes even 6 games, I still think the Nuggets are going to be in position to pull it out. But it's going to be a close matchup, and maybe the Clippers don't run out of gas in this 18-3 run, really pushes into this first round, and they're able to get out of it because, as you pointed out, both teams have a shot to take out the Thunder in round 2. They've got superstars, they've got depth, they can score. Anything can happen. We've seen last year a 6th seed in the Eastern Conference get to the Eastern Conference Finals, so I can't count on either of these teams, but I'm going to go with the Nuggets, and it's going to be our first disagreement as far as who we think is going to win. I imagine we're going to see more disagreements when we go over round 2, but for now, this is the first one, so I'm glad that there's at least one.
And one quick thing just to add in there too on the Nuggets that I did find was a little bit interesting was, I do just have questions on the actual turmoil of what's going on in the locker room. Like, for example, maybe it's all cleared now that they got Michael Malone out of there, but the one thing that did kind of come off red flaggish to me was the fact that Jamal Murray had been hampered by that hamstring injury for a while, and there kind of wasn't any clarity on like if he was going to be back for the playoffs. They just kind of were saying he's hopeful that he's going to be back for the playoffs, and then literally Mike Malone gets fired, and then in the next game, Jamal Murray's playing all of a sudden. And obviously, we want to see the superstars healthy and at their best. Come playoff time, that's what we want to see as fans. But it does make me kind of just raise my eyebrows a little bit. Like, was there more going on? Did Michael Malone really just have the locker room lost? And maybe now that they removed that from the locker room, maybe they're in a good headspace and in a good position to go on a run here. We'll see. But a little bit strange that that was kind of the case there.
Yeah, there had to be something real severe going on because you don't let go of a coach that you've had for a decade right before the playoffs. There has to be a lot more to the story we don't know, and and I think obviously him playing right away kind of shows that there was something going on. So while it would seem like wild news and we couldn't believe what we were seeing, these guys still know more than we do. They're obviously right there every single day, showing up to work. So if it gets cleared up and this team can turn it around and play and refocus back on this group and these guys on this team this year, they're dangerous. You do have, probably the best basketball player in the world on your team, and anytime that happens, I have a hard time counting them out. So we'll go with Nuggets there in that one, and that's going to wrap up the Western Conference, and we're going to jump into the Eastern Conference next, but we will take a quick break and be right back. And we're back for the Eastern Conference first round, and we're going to start up at the top there. As I mentioned, we don't know at this recording who the Cavaliers will be playing. I don't know that it's going to matter with our picks. So, Ethan, go ahead and take the floor. Who do you have in the Cavaliers matchup?
Yeah, right now it's looking like the Heat actually just pulled out the win against the Bulls. So we'll see the Miami Heat play against the Atlanta Hawks here in a couple days for that 8th seed. But man, regardless, it's hard to imagine that either team really is going to give the Cleveland Cavaliers any sort of fits or anything like that.
Yeah.
Cleveland, to give them credit, man, they've got something going on there, and I honestly never thought I'd see the day that Cleveland would be relevant, post LeBron, but here they are, the second best record in the NBA. They have the best record in the NBA against their conference than anybody in the NBA. They were the best offensive team in basketball. They were top 10 in defense, and Kenny Atkinson really has those guys playing at a super high level. So it's hard to imagine that they're going to get taken out in the first round. I do have questions on them as far as long term going down the playoff run, but at least in this first round matchup against one of these two teams, because I don't see how they give them any sort of problems unless Cleveland just goes absolutely ice cold from three. They do shoot quite a bit of threes, but man, they move that ball around and they share that ball and they play super unselfish and they're really good at consistently getting the right shots and they have plenty of depth and plenty of players that can go out there and make big shots. But yeah, I'll go with the Cleveland Cavaliers in that one. Let's just say I'll go with the Miami Heat probably pulling out that play-in game here in a couple days. But regardless, it'd either be a sweep or in 5 games.
Yeah, I pretty much laid out all the same points that you did. Cavaliers, this team is just playing insane. They started out the season playing insane, 15-game winning streak. So to me, what that shows is that they can be consistent to pull out more than a few wins at a time, which is why I've got them with the sweep here in round one. Doesn't matter who they play. I think they'll be able to be consistently good, highest scoring team in the NBA, solid defense. They have who I'd call a star in Donovan Mitchell. And he can, go nuclear in any given game as well to really give them an edge. So I just think all in all, they're too dangerous at this point in the playoffs. We'll see how it goes moving forward. Again, there's not tons of experience on this team, so they're going to have a tough time if they match up against a team like the Boston Celtics at some point. So, in my opinion, but we'll see. I think they've got this one handled pretty easily, no matter who they play. They've had a phenomenal year and have really been, to me, one of the biggest surprises in the NBA this season. So the Cavaliers in that one. Brings us to the second matchup. The number 2 seed, the Boston Celtics. They are matched up against the Orlando Magic, another team with kind of a surprise season. They play pretty well, but who do you have in this one?
Yeah, the Magic. I still feel like the Magic are, at least one solid piece away from being relevant in the East. But to give them credit, though, they were one of the top defensive teams in the NBA this year. And since Banchero's gotten healthy, they have finished out the season playing much better basketball, and they certainly are. They're not going to be an easy out. I mean, they're gonna go out there and they're gonna fight, and they're not going to roll over for anybody. And they're a tough team and they're physical and they're going to make it tough on anybody. But I mean, Boston's too much here for them. I mean, it's just hard to imagine anybody in the East is really going to beat Boston. I mean, they're the defending champs. They haven't lost a step this year. The best road record in the entire NBA. Their depth is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, like you're talking about guys like Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis. Like these guys are role players,
Yeah.
And they understand their roles. And man, they're a team that's I can't imagine really anybody in the East beating them, especially the Magic. But I do give the Magic at least a fighting chance to make this series interesting if they can really get after him on defense and really try to slow him down and get in the half court set and really try to force Boston to play one-on-one and force out bad shots. I think the Magic could make it a scrappy series, but ultimately the Boston's just going to be tough to beat. I mean, going on the road, like I said, they're the best road team in the NBA. We know how hard it is to play in the Garden in the playoffs, and it's hard to imagine anyone's touching them. So I'll go with Boston in this one. I got the Celtics over the Magic in 5.
In 5. Yeah, I ended up going with another sweep here. I think Celtics are going to really get it done. 4 games. I agree with the Magic. They're going to make it tough. Solid defensive team, but they lack scoring. And Boston, as you alluded to, too good on the road. And at home, they're, in my opinion, one of the most unbeatable teams in front of that home crowd to play in the playoffs. So you combine that with championship winning team, superstar players. I think that the Magic, they need to add scoring at some point. They need to bring in somebody that can be truly the star of this team and provide it for them. Whether there's conversations. I don't know that I necessarily agree with it, but you hear LaMelo Ball being thrown around as being an offensive player that they could add for scoring. We'll see. I don't know what they'll do, but they're not quite there yet, and the Celtics are a tough matchup to get here in the first round. So I've got Celtics in a sweep. I think you said you had them in 5, but we might have changed that into 4. Whether you give them a game or not, we'll see. But I know that you were thinking sweep there as well, potentially. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be that close of one. I just don't. These guys, the Magic, 104.5 points per game, 30th in the league. That's just not gonna cut it when you're playing against a team to this magnitude. They're just too good. So Celtics should get this one. Yeah, that brings us to the next matchup, the Knicks versus Pistons, and I know you don't necessarily love the Knicks. I know a lot of people have been kind of disappointed with the Knicks, especially early on in the season. I think they've performed lesser than expected by many people's standards. So what do you think happens here in this series, Knicks versus Pistons?
Yeah, I think the Knicks, I mean, they had a quality season this year. No one's denying that. They just, struggled against some of the top teams in the NBA. And, you look at the Knicks on paper and you're like, how is this team should be one of the best teams for sure. They have high level starters at every position. They just have no depth. And Tibbs just loves to play these guys ridiculous minutes and play that small rotation. They've been doing that virtually, all season long. And I definitely am concerned that they're going to be able to make any sort of a playoff run here, considering we're like just going back off of what you were saying about the Clippers going on that 18-3, run. I mean, these starters for the Knicks have been playing 40 minutes a game for, weeks now. And that's not really the greatest recipe to me. I do like them in this series as obviously the Pistons. I mean, let's just stop for a second and give the Pistons their flowers. I mean, they won, what they win, 18 or 14 games last year, and they won 44 this year. So they won 30 more games this year. I certainly have J.B. Bickerstaff up there as Coach of the Year candidate. I mean, what he's done there is absolutely, it's insane, and they've done that for a good portion of the year without Jaden Ivey, and they don't really have a ton of scoring options. So, Cade Cunningham, let's put some respect on his name. The fact that he's gotten this team into that number 6 seed is super impressive, and he certainly is going to be a star in this league for for many years to come. So want to just give him his flowers there. But I do think they are outmatched here as far as this, this match here with the Knicks. I mean, Brunson is healthy and getting his legs back under him. And Jalen Brunson is about the only player on the team that I actually do trust in the playoffs. I mean, he's proven that in big moments and big games, that guy is one of the clutchest players in the NBA, and his resume backs that up. But I don't love the Knicks this year. I do think Karl Anthony Towns is a bit overrated. It drives me nuts that he spends so much time on the perimeter. I know he's making threes at a good rate, but it drives me nuts when your center is out there on the perimeter, especially come playoff time, because like we were talking about earlier, second chance points, dominating the paint, putting pressure on their defense on the interior. That is only going to, open up the rest of the offense and allow the rest of your teammates to excel. And it's going to wear down the defense. And when he spends all that time on the perimeter, it's not my favorite thing to watch for him. But I get it. Like, there's got to be some moderation of both. It just seems to me like he's just always out there. And I want to see him bang a little bit more. And if he's able to do that, then, I feel a lot better about their chances. But my gut just tells me he's just going to be jacking up threes, the whole playoffs, like we've seen for a while now. But I'll take the Knicks in this one still, just because I don't think the Pistons are quite ready to go yet. Another one of those teams like the Rockets we were talking about earlier, where, certainly look out for them in the future. I mean, they're progressing every year, and Cade Cunningham could certainly be a future star, future superstar in this NBA league. But right now, they're not quite there yet. So give me the Knicks. I'll go with the Knicks in 6. I do think the Pistons will make it a little bit scrappy. And like I said, I don't love the Knicks this year, but I do think they have enough to get over the Pistons. So Knicks in 6 there.
Yeah, looking at this first round, I think it's kind of the theme that there's just a good number of these teams that have had great seasons, surprisingly great seasons. Some teams that we've seen at the bottom for years that have made a complete 180 on their success and actually getting into the playoffs and being good. They're just not there yet. And I think we'll see that shift soon, especially with this team. Cade Cunningham, he's proven me wrong. I wasn't a huge believer in him when he was coming out. I thought he was a good player, but at the time, man, going to the Pistons, it just seemed like wouldn't work out. That team would just continue to fail. But they proved me wrong. He's proved me wrong. So I'll give him a game. I think it's going to go 5. I think the Knicks, while I agree with you that I don't love them. I don't love the way they play, and they do struggle against some of the better teams in the East. And that's what's going to end up happening in round 2. We're going to find out if they're legit or not. Can they beat a good team? I don't think they can. I don't think that this roster is going to be able to, with who they have and what they have and how they've played this season. Completely agree with Kat around the perimeter. Sure, in the regular season, that's fine. They play at a faster pace to the point where possessions don't matter as much. You get in the playoffs, though, and each possession is going to matter. You're going to need a big body down there more than they probably put him down there. So he's just too big. If he was a skinny 7-footer, I could understand he maybe a little bit more, but he's a big dude and could be a difference maker. But they're going to play him, how they think is going to give them the best chance to win. And if it's be on the perimeter, it is. But I think when you play a good team that knows how to defend it and minimize it as much as they can, they're going to struggle. So I do. I got them in 5. I just think the Pistons aren't ready yet. And like I said, that's kind of a common theme with a lot of these teams here in the first round. So Knicks in 5. But that brings us to our last matchup, the 4-5 matchup. And this one, again, just like in the Western Conference, I think it's kind of an interesting matchup. But Pacers, Bucks, who you got?
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. Yeah, that 4-5 matchup always kind of, typically is that more interesting matchup, just because typically, you got those two middle teams that, battling it out, and that is definitely the theme this year. I think those are the two, the Western and the Eastern Conference, the 4 and 5 are kind of the matchups where you're like, this could be the most competitive for sure. But this one is one where man, I wish Damian Lillard was healthy. Just going back again, on what we were saying earlier, like we want to see the best players playing. We don't want to see superstars out. As fans, it's a win's a win, and more times than not, people are going to forget that Damian Lillard didn't even play in this series. I'm assuming he doesn't play. It sounded like he's not going to. People probably will forget about that down the line, but still, just in the moment, as fans, we want to see the best players out there. And I just think they're asking Giannis to do a lot here. They don't really have a ball handler that can initiate the offense. There really is nobody on the team that can kind of do that, and I think they've been struggling a lot not having that. Losing Drew Holiday a few years back was hurt them a lot, and then now obviously with Lillard being out, not having that ball handler is certainly hurting them. And I do think Giannis will have I think Giannis is going to put up astronomical numbers probably in this series. Don't be surprised about that. They're giving you 35 and 14 a game here at this series, especially with how the Pacers play defense. I mean, they're not, they don't typically play the hardest defense in the world, but Giannis, I do think will have crazy numbers, but somebody's going to have to come along for the ride with them. And I mean, are we trusting Kyle Kuzma or a Bobby Portis or Brooke Lopez, those type of players? Like, are we really trusting those guys can go out there and be a solid number 2 option in a playoff series? I don't think I'm quite there to say that. And the Pacers really have turned their season around since Christmas and have been one of the better statistical and record teams since Christmas, and really have proven that they're good in these big games, and they can go out there and be scrappy and play hard and give it everything they got out there and leave it all out there on the floor. That is something that they certainly don't shy away from. They leave everything out there every game, and it's it's hard not to respect that. Whether you're a fan or not, you got to respect their style of basketball where they go out there and they leave everything out there. So I do like the Pacers in this series. The Pacers, where the Bucks could be in the advantage at is that the Pacers, they love getting in transition. They run. As soon as they get the ball, they run. They get down court. They're trying to get open shots. They're trying to get layups. And we do, like we said, we know in the playoff time the game is going to slow down. They're gonna be playing a lot more in the court set, and it's gonna be really up to Tyrese Halliburton to really be able to consistently initiate the offense without turning the ball over at a high rate. And but yeah, with that being said, I like the Pacers in this series. I wish Damian Lillard was playing. My pick would be the other way around if that was the case, but no Lillard, no ball handler. Give me the Pacers in this one. I'll go Pacers in 7 in this. I do think it'll still be. I think Giannis will still have enough performances where he'll make it. He'll take it down to the wire, but I do ultimately think the Pacers will pull it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I ended up going with the Pacers in this one as well. I'm a little surprised that you've got them going to 7, to be honest, especially if Lillard's out. I've got it 6 games, and that was because I believe in Giannis to be able to prevail in a few of these games. I just don't think it's going to be enough without another star alongside him. But they very well. I mean, these teams, the Bucks, they won the season series 3-1. So I think with Lillard, I would agree. I would probably go with him to win the series. But if he ends up missing, it sounds like he's going to miss. I just think the Pacers are just too much. This is a team that went on a run a season ago as a 6th seed to the conference finals. And we'll see if they can do it again and then perform well come playoff time. But I think Pacers in 6 is going to end up being how it's going to end up. So I'm excited for that one, though. Even without Lillard, Giannis is going to make it interesting. He's too good of a basketball player. And the Pacers, I just feel like you just don't know for sure with where they're at. They 50 and 32. They average 117, which is all good. But to be honest, after how last year went, I expect a little bit more out of them, and expect them to perform a little bit better than they have. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited for that one. Out of all these matchups, which one would you say you're most excited about? I made the face because it's hard. You have that 4 or 5 matchups, which are really going to probably be your closest ones, more than likely your closest ones. For me, there's another one outside of those that I'm excited about. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, personally, obviously, the Lakers series is the one I'm the most interested in. The two series I would say that's got the most media attention is obviously that Lakers and Timberwolves series, and then probably that Rockets and Warriors series maybe next. But the series I'm most excited for as a fan is the Denver and Clippers
Yeah.
series. That one I think is a very interesting matchup, and it'll be very interesting to see who prevails on that. You certainly cannot count out Nikola Jokic, and we've seen what Jamal Murray is in the playoffs, especially in the fourth quarter. I mean, we know what he did to the Lakers last year in Game 2 when he hit that buzzer beater. He's phenomenal in the clutch, and if they can really get it going and start firing on all cylinders, look out. I mean, they've won before, so what's stopping them from doing it again if they're firing?
Yeah, I'm I'm with you. I think that's the most intriguing matchup from a fan's perspective. Like if you've never watched the NBA and you're just getting into it, go watch that series. It's gonna be a fun one. You mentioned Warriors Rockets. That's the one that I think I'm most interested in, and from the standpoint of can the Warriors, similar to the Clippers, like they could run out of gas here, but if not, this could set up a second round matchup should the Lakers get past the Timberwolves. And I think Lakers and Warriors would be a fantastic series. Like can't miss basketball. Um, Again, new to basketball, that's a series that I would be super excited to watch. They match up so well. It's going to be a close one, I think, if that ends up happening. So
Yeah,
excited.
and anytime you get LeBron and Steph in a series, you know it's going to be fireworks and it's going to get eyeballs on it.
Oh,
So,
oh,
as a fan,
absolutely.
no matter who we're rooting for, if you're just a fan who doesn't have any skin in it, then it's something you definitely don't want to
And
miss.
it could be the last time you see two legends in Steph and LeBron, arguably the two of the most
Very true.
polarizing basketball players to ever play the game, get a chance to match up. And so I do hope, from a fan's perspective, I hope it happens. From a Lakers perspective, I don't know that I do. I'd rather match up with the Rockets personally, but we'll see what
Yeah.
happens there. So that's going to wrap up our first round breakdown of and predictions of how we see the NBA playoffs going. We will jump into a second round whenever that time comes around, and we'll break down those games as well. So enjoy talking these games with you, Ethan, and we're going to jump into our final thing for the night, and that's a blind ranking. But we'll get into that when we come back. All right, welcome back. We're going to jump into our last topic, and let's make it a little fun, okay? This is kind of like how we like to end our podcast with something fun. We did this on episode 1. If you didn't see it, check it out. But we're going to do a blind ranking, and we're going to be talking, at least for me, I'm going to provide you with 5 moments. I apologize. 5 clutch shots that have happened in the playoffs since 2000. You're going to rank them in order blindly, but I try to rank it in order from the best shot to worst shot out of the 5. I'm excited to see how this goes for you because it brought back a lot of memories and a lot of fun moments in the NBA playoffs. So, all right,
Let's hear it.
yeah, I'm excited for this one. We'll see how you rank these. Well, for the first one, I've got LeBron's 3-pointer in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals against Orlando, 2009. Game 2, as I mentioned. So the three that
Yeah.
it's you can't forget it. Top of the key, catch, shoot, drain it.
Yeah,
Great.
see, I'm a big context guy, and crazy clutch shot, and definitely was one of those moments in my sports watching career where I went crazy. But because the Magic ended up prevailing and winning that series, it can't be that high up there for me compared to other shots that have happened in NBA history. Now I'll be interested. Hopefully you don't not pull out some of the clutcher shots I'm maybe thinking in my head, and we'll see how that goes. But just blindly ranking, I'll go with that one at 4.
I had a feeling that might be the case. Specifically, sorry, I'm taking notes over here. I'm trying to track that. I was curious to see where you were going to rank that. I'm glad you brought up the fact that they did not win that series and missed out on an opportunity to match up with Kobe Bryant in the finals. Unfortunate, and one of the things that I'll never forgive LeBron for. But nonetheless, it was an insane shot, an insane moment, and it's one of those that when they talk about the NBA playoffs, you see it replayed all the time. So number 4 is that shot you had, LeBron's three-pointer against the Magic back in 2009. The next one I've got for you to rank, one of my favorites, Derek Fisher, zero point 0.4 seconds left on the clock. They're playing the Spurs. It's 2004, Game 5, critical game. Fisher drains it. Where do we have this one ranked?
Yeah, because the series was tied up 2-2 at that time, right? And that game 5 was in LA, right?
I think it was San Antonio.
Okay, so the Lakers came back to game 6, and then did they end up winning that game 6, or did that go to a 7?
I have to look it
I don't
up.
remember now.
I have to look up the.
Regardless, that was obviously the shot that really won them that series and then got them to the championship and whatnot. But man, just level of difficulty. That shot is insanely high on level of difficulty. I mean, he had zero point 0.4 seconds left, hitting a fadeaway. Luckily, he's fading away into his shot, at least since D-Fish was a lefty. But to be able to get that ball off and that little amount of time, and then just nothing but net, just absolute swoosh it, just bang.
Mm-hmm.
That's a clutch shot. And against that Spurs team, which, man, we don't got to remind you the things that they accomplished. That was a great team. It wasn't a team that was, overachievers and had a good run, but never actually won anything. That Spurs team won many times.
Yeah.
So, going up against a great team, big series, I'll go with that one. I'll go with that one at 3. But that was a legendary moment that that'll be in the history books, and you'll see that on YouTube for many years to come and forever, our whole lifetimes. Crazy.
I'm impressed. I think you're going to end up being happy with your ranking. You're doing a phenomenal job, at least in my mind. For me, I think my personal experience with that shot would play a factor, and if it were me ranking it, I remember it so vividly, at least as a young kid watching that game, and I was in tears after Tim Duncan makes that shot top of the key, and then gets fouled on the play. They take that lead. In tears. I didn't think they were going to be able to win it. I just hated the Spurs at the time. Hated them. So for him to make that shot, I went ballistic. Just a little kid at that time. So great shot, great moment. You got that one at 3. The next one I've got for you. This was a moment that me personally, I could not believe what I was seeing. Personally, I just could not believe it. It was wild, and it felt like time almost stopped in the moment. That was Kawhi Leonard's Eastern Conference Finals field goal, Game 7 against the Sixers, 2019. When the ball bounces on the rim, and it feels like it just sat there. It goes in.
I know. That's such a controversial one because it's the only Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history, if I'm not mistaken, to win the series. But man, there's just nothing. There's just something about just cold-blooded, nothing but net, just cold. Just killer instinct, just boom. And the fact that that ball hit the rim so many times, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It did go in, and that's all that matters. But there's obviously a big factor of luck involved in that. So obviously, insane moment, a moment again we'll never forget. But there's just something about, to me, somebody just cold-blooded, nothing but net, wishing it, or having no doubts that ball was going in. That just it simplifies. It symbolizes something bigger than just the actual shot, and there not being luck involved in it. I don't know. That just is like. It's a tough one for sure. It's obviously controversial a little bit, but I'll put it at 5.
I was not expecting to go that route. Yeah, so I'm glad you said that and brought that up. The fact that it hits the rim, it's weird that that takes so much away from the shot, because I feel the same way. But I do think the situation that it's in, it being the Raptors as well that he's on, against the Sixers, who were rolling at that time.
Yeah, it led to the championship.
Yeah, this puts you to the finals. that it was a tie game, so like they're gonna go to overtime. So I do think because of that, there is a lot less pressure at least on him. You have nothing to lose. I mean, obviously you want to make the shot and win the game, but like you still have an overtime in case you do miss. And then the fact that it hits the rim and bounces in and goes in, but it is an iconic moment to me. I would have had it higher on the list personally.
Yeah, and the degree of difficulty of that shot is really insane because the ball's getting thrown across the court. He's catching it and then has a 7'2" Joel Embiid in his face, and he's fading away almost behind the backboard, and somehow gets it off over him. The degree of difficulty was obviously super high. I just think it was super lucky that it went in, and I don't think it was. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters is that it goes in. But at the end, also at the same time, it was so lucky.
I hope my Canadian friends, I don't know if they're Toronto fans, Raptor fans, but I hope my Canadian friends listen to this and just hammer you in the comments below for putting him at 5. If not, though, that's okay.
Hey, they won the championship, so credit to them. All that matters is that it went in. But I mean, come on. Do you think he was trying to hit the rim 4 times before the ball went in?
Absolutely not.
I don't think he was trying to do that.
Absolutely not. We've got number 1 and number 2 rankings left on your list. We're going to go into one of my favorites. And this one, just rewatching it, it was such another moment similar to D-Fish, but I'm a little biased. I'm a Lakers fan, and this is a Lakers one. You got Ron Artest, 3-pointer against the Celtics. There was about a minute left, so we're not talking buzzer beater, but the Lakers are only up by 3 at this point. This was a dagger, it felt like. Game 7, so literally the biggest moment. Lakers, Celtics. Celtics had beat them 2 years prior in the finals, so again, I mean, just felt like a lot of pressure on the Lakers here to win this one, especially with that rivalry. And out of all people, one of the most inconsistent three-point shooters, or shooters in general, offensive scorers that you will ever see, and Ron Artest / Meta World Peace / Panda's friend, whatever he calls himself, drills it, dude. And it was another one of those shots that when he gets it, I just knew it was going in. Maybe it's because I just wanted it to go in so bad, but I just knew I could feel it. So, where do you have that one ranked?
Yeah, it's almost like one of those like Russell Westbrook moments where the fans are like, oh. And then you make it, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah.
What it reminds me of, actually, you saying that is anytime you play pickup with somebody who's not good at basketball and they get the ball from behind the key, and you're just like, shoot it. and his teammates like, no, don't shoot it. But then they shoot it, they trade it.
See, yeah, so this is I actually find this shot more clutch than the Kawhi Leonard shot, shockingly. And the reason because it's the NBA Finals. It's Lakers versus Celtics, biggest rivalry in basketball. Game 7, like this is the highest pressure it gets. I'm not saying the pressure wasn't high in the Kawhi Leonard, and obviously that was a buzzer beater. And there was time on the clock left; they were leading, so technically it's not, game on the line. You're losing. That technically would be the most pressure you could face. But there's just something about Lakers and Celtics in the finals, and obviously that series was just so intense coming down to that Game 7. And him being able to step up, no luck about it, drains it. That's clutch. Like that's as clutch as it almost gets to me. It wouldn't be the most clutch shot in NBA history for me, but I would put it right there, really, with that Kawhi shot, just because there was no luck whatsoever involved in that. It was ice cold, and in the NBA Finals, Game 7 against the rivals. So put that one at 2.
I knew you'd do that. And smart decision to do that there. Man, great moment too. I can't get over it. He comes out with the song "Champions" or whatever after the fact that after they win that championship, and
that was crazy.
Just as a Lakers fan, one of my favorite championships of all time. So huge moment. That's going to lead into. I think this is, if you ask most people, this might be the number 1 for most people. So. Glad you saved it for the end. I originally did not have it for the end. I wanted to see how you would rank some other ones first, but smart decision to hold out. Ray Allen's 3-point field goal in the finals to save the Heat season, 2013, Game 6 against the Spurs. Where do we have this one? Because we know it's number 1, but You would
Yeah,
have it
it's
no matter
obviously
what.
number one, but it would have been number one regardless. This is why I didn't put any of those shots at number one, because I had a gut feeling you were going to pull this one out. And to me, this is the clutchest shot in NBA history. I mean, there's arguments you can make for other shots, the Kyrie shot. Yeah, there's other shots out there, but man, that Ray Allen shot was. You can't even put words into it. It was one of the craziest moments I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the whole situation of that play was just crazy. The fact that Manu Ginobili tried to go for that rebound on Chris Bosh and left Ray Allen, and then the fact that Ray Allen just the level of difficulty of the shot is just absurd. Moving backwards, knowing exactly when to stop, set your feet, catch the ball, and then just rip it like nothing but net. The perfect shot, bang. And obviously, we know what that led to. That tied the game up. They came on this, crazy comeback right at the end where LeBron really played a great series for the most part, but he was not great in those final moments of that game six there in Miami. He did hit one, clutch three to get him within. They got him. LeBron hit a three, got him within two. They fouled Kawhi. Kawhi went one of two at the free throw line to make it a 3-point game. Came back down. LeBron break a three, and then LeBron break a three, and then obviously Bosh got the rebound, kicked it out. That tied it up, put it into overtime. The rest was history. Miami ended up winning the game, went to a game seven where Miami won it in game seven as well. So, man, just the level of difficulty of the shot, the fact that he ripped it nothing but net. Just LeBron in the finals, is getting so much media scrutiny, and. Yeah, I'll forever be grateful for Ray Allen for hitting that shot, because if it wasn't for him, old LeBron would only have 3 championships right now.
Yeah, insane moment. Clear to me, it's clear number one, just because of what it's done for LeBron's career in a sense. Like you just said, it helped get him another championship that he probably wouldn't have had, and super difficult shot. Fans had left this. I mean, people weren't expecting them to come back and be in that situation.
They were rolling the trophy out. They were getting ready to roll the trophy out onto the court and everything, and all of a sudden they're like, hold up, take it back. We got overtime. Just a crazy moment.
They had a little bit of luck on their side, a little bit of hustle. Things went their way. And
then also on top of that, why was Tim Duncan not in the game at that time? Your best rebounder was on the bench. It doesn't really, make a lot of sense. But
man,
crazy moment.
In these moments, I wonder, coaches, I wonder what decisions that they wish they would have made, because I'm sure there's things that you wish you would have done different. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. But you thought you did the best that you could do there, and. But I do have some honorable mentions. I got just a couple before we get into your rankings. Kobe versus Suns in 2006. This is the year Kobe was on a scoring tear, just dominating the league. Should have been an MVP in my humble opinion. He got the Lakers to the 7 seed, which is look at that roster. Not a good roster. 7 seed. They're playing the Suns, the team that Steve Nash on that team ends up winning the MVP that season. They're the 2 seed, dominant team, but the Lakers up 2-1 at this moment in the series, surprising a lot of people. Kobe's playing out of his mind, and in this game, it was just an incredible back and forth game. But it leads to Kobe getting it, dribbling to the near the top of the key to the right side, pulling up fadeaway, typical Kobe fashion, drain it. Lakers win. They take a 3-1 lead. Unfortunately, the reason why I didn't put on the list and why it's kind of hard is the context is key, similar to your LeBron's take. They did not win that series, so it was a big moment. They would have pulled out that series. It could go down as one of the clutchest shots we've ever seen, because it was a very clutch shot. Another one, Robert Horry, 2002, another Laker. Crazy, a lot of these are Lakers, but I swear no bias in this. This one, big one, because they're down 2, and he hits a 3 to save the series. Lakers end up winning that one in 7. I believe that was against the Kings. I didn't write that one down, but if I remember correctly, it was the Kings. And then the last one is Damian Lillard. He's had a couple of them, but 2019, first round versus the Thunder, Game 5. This one, gave them the series. So literally buzzer beater series. Um, I
Yeah,
think,
that was the infamous Paul George
yeah,
saying that's not a good shot, and I'm
yep.
like, to him it is. That guy like makes those actually.
If it goes in, it's a good shot. Whether it was a
Yeah,
good decision, maybe not the best decision, but not the not going to be your.
and that's in range for Lillard.
It's not.
So
It might. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, because it might be their best shot. You never know. You don't know how the play is going to extend. They could end up kicking the ball around and not getting a good shot off. So he has a good look, wide open. I don't care who you are, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, these type of 3-point guys. You need to get out on them, and he learned his lesson. So that'll do it for those
yeah,
clutch shots. We'll go ahead and let you get into your blind ranking that you got for me.
yeah. So yeah, so same concept here as what we just did with me, but this one for you, you're gonna rank these in 1 to 5. One being the best playoff performance, one being the best playoff performance, five being the worst playoff performance of the five blind rankings. And this is since 2000 as well. So
Yeah.
makes sense.
It makes
Yeah.
sense. I literally, the last time we did this, I actually did some research, still bombed the blind ranking. So this time, no research. I didn't look into this topic at all. So I've got no grasp here. So bring it. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, let's get it. First one I got is the Kobe Bryant Game 1, 2009 finals against Orlando, where they just absolutely destroyed Orlando in that first game. I think they won by like 30. And Kobe had 48 and 8 and only played like 35 minutes that game.
Sounds like Kobe, to be honest. Hmm. Let's see. I got to think it through a little bit. I'm gonna. The first ones in these things, you typically got to put it on that 3-4 range. I'm To me, maybe to somebody else that didn't watch a lot of Kobe, this sounds like something that would be really high up. But we're talking game one against a team that I felt like they should beat. I don't think it was going to be that close of a series, truthfully. Um, Especially the way Kobe had been playing. So I'm gonna put that one at 4 for now. Yeah, for now.
Yeah,
We'll put
that's
it at 4.
solid.
Lock it in.
Yeah. Second one, we'll go with LeBron's Game 5 versus the Pistons in 2007, where he scored 48 and then scored 29 of their last 30
Yeah.
into double overtime, ultimately hitting the game winner in double overtime to put them up 3-2 in the Eastern Conference Finals.
What was that year?
That was '07.
That's the year they went to the finals.
Yeah, that was the year they went to the finals and lost to San Antonio.
Yeah. Regardless, getting to the finals, even though I do think people like to downplay that team, I think that team was actually a little bit better than people want to give it credit for. Still, though, it was not a very good team surrounding LeBron, and to do that, incredible. If people know me, they know I am not a LeBron fan at all. I never really have been. I prefer the Kobe Bryants, that kind of mentality, and I just don't see that with LeBron. So it's always kind of bugged me. I did not like him for his career, but that's a tough one. Let me think real quick to see if there's anything that really pops out. I'm gonna probably put that at one. It's just too many. Just he ended that game. It was all LeBron, and there was no stopping him. He really dominated that game. So I'll put that at
Yeah,
one.
that really was probably one of his best. To me, that's probably his first or second best game all time, I would probably say, as far as playoff performances go. But okay, so let's jump into the third one here. Let's go with Allen Iverson, the 2001 Game 1 versus the Lakers. The only game they won of the series, but the game where he went 48, 5, and 6.
Yeah. So this is AI was incredible. One of the best scorers I've ever seen, especially then. But for that roster to be able to do anything against the Lakers, that's what it was going to take. He had to do something like that to get a game, and they got dominated in that series because they just didn't have enough. The Lakers team was so stacked. Huge performance. Don't want to downplay it by any means, but I'm going to put that at 5, specifically just because it truly was expected, and they didn't end up winning the series. So, big performance, but it did not surprise me.
Solid, solid. Okay. Next one. This one's a little bit of a tougher one because it did come in a loss, but it was literal centimeters away from being a win. And quite honestly, when you actually break it down, was one of the craziest games I've ever seen a human being play. Um, Unfortunately, it did end in a loss, and that is the Kevin Durant 2021 when he was with Brooklyn when they played Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Bucks, Milwaukee ended up winning the championship that year. They were in a game 7, and it came down to Kevin Durant hitting that fadeaway from the top of the key, and his toe was like literally on the 3-point line by this much to win the game. But because his toe was barely on the line, it ended up going. It counted as a 2, went into overtime, and the Bucks, ended up winning that game. But Kevin Durant went. He had scored 48 points in that game and was out there playing with no Kyrie. Kyrie was hurt. And then James Harden was out there playing through a horrible, I think it was a hamstring injury he was playing with, but he was basically like maybe 40% out there. So Kevin Durant was literally leading that team all by himself against the team that ended up winning the championship. Crazy game. Didn't end in a W, but almost did with that that crazy clutch shot at the end.
Yeah. I'm gonna end up putting it at 3, and it's just not winning. Hurts the case because I feel like yes, you can have a big performance, and that is an insane performance, but winning is a big part of it in my opinion. So I don't know if you mentioned it, maybe I missed it. If that 3, it would have counted as a 3, what would that have done to the series at that time?
They would have won it. It was at the buzzer. It was at the buzzer, and they were down by a 2 when he shot that shot, and everybody thought it was over because it looked like it was a 3. And they reviewed it, and his toe was like, I'm talking, it was like 2 centimeters on the line. It was barely touching the line. And that put it into overtime. So, yeah, I agree with you there because Kevin Durant was bad in overtime, but he also played, I think, every minute of that game. He played all 48 minutes of that game and single-handedly, it was one of the craziest performances I've ever seen. Unfortunately, like I said, it ended in a loss, but he's insane.
He's one of the best scorers I've ever watched. Felt that way when he was at Texas, just at college level. I'm like, man, this guy is just incredible. And, yeah, insane performance, but I think pulling out the win matters. So unfortunately, I'm gonna place that at 3. I think I have 2 left, right? But 1 at 1. So yeah,
one left. So right now you got the LeBron game 5 against the Pistons at 1, the Kevin Durant at
yeah. I meant
3.
I meant the ranking. Number 2 should be what I have left. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the last one I have for you is. It's another LeBron game, which I know you love, but
unbelievable.
Another unbelievable.
He's going to be 1-2 in my ranking.
This is my all-time favorite LeBron game, but this was the game 6 at Boston in 2012, where he went 45, 15, and 5, down 3-2 in Boston, and Eastern Conference Finals year coming off. This was the year after he had the chosen one turned frozen one in the finals against Dallas, and came back and almost came up short again in the Eastern Conference Finals and had that crazy performance in Boston, which led them to get to the finals and to ultimately win.
Yeah, well, that's going to end up being 2. If I could redo it, those LeBron's one, we'd throw them outside the top 5, and Kobe number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Kobe had great games. No one's denying that.
I'm just kidding. No, that is one thing that I will say about his career is he's had big moments in the playoffs, and he's done amazing things come playoff time, and obviously in the regular season. I felt like relied on other people as well in some of the moments that we've even discussed, but what he did to the Pistons and the Celtics, dominance, dude, and I think that's a fair one too. So I'm happy with the ranking. I think it worked out.
Yeah, I actually I liked it. I think I would have probably agreed with how you ranked that. Honestly, I would have probably went that order. The only one I maybe would have flipped would have been the two LeBron games. That one I go back and forth on. I think the pressure was way higher on him in that Celtics
Yeah,
series, but I think the game against the Pistons was a more impressive game.
I agree. The Pistons one, he was just playing ball, dude. Like he so early
Yeah.
on in his career, young LeBron, but in that moment, dude, could not miss. He just seemed unstoppable. So,
Yeah,
um,
he was making shots in that game that he really never hits either. It was just one
yeah,
of those nights, and it happened to be at the perfect time to do it.
unbelievable. Um, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode, and the next one we're gonna discuss some NFL news on the next episode. But wraps up NBA for this week. We're looking forward to the playoffs starting. Um, round one, obviously they're doing the play-in now, but these round one matchups are gonna be fun. So if there are any disagreements from anybody watching, you think someone else is gonna pull out a series, let us know in the comments. Um, and yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me as well, man. It's going to be it's an awesome time of the year this year, and yeah, certainly agree with you there. If anybody's got any want to debate or they want to give us any feedback on that or anything on that level, certainly send us leave us a comment. Send us a DM on our socials, and we'll certainly get back to you and have those conversations. So.
Tell us how much LeBron sucks. Ethan loves those comments.
Oh, I'll respond instantly to that one.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it. We'll see you for the next one. Everyone have a good night.